You know what Goblin Chain Whirler is not very good against? Esper Control.
We'll see. It's still 3-3.
Wow.
It's still 3-3.
3-3. Great. Deal 1 to you.
Train Armadon. Let's do it. No, 1-drop. Jarvis, what are you doing?
He's losing.
Take a mulligan, man.
You are loud.
Take a mulligan.
Turn you down.
I'm invested now. Second round. There we go. Kari Zev, Skyship Rada.
It's about time for a fatal push. Hamilton's actually got 2 copies of Ether Meltdown on his main deck, which I like a lot. That gives him the ability to deal with Heart of Kirin very easily.
Fetid Pools was Michael's first land, and now he'll play an Ether Hub, get himself an energy, so we can head back over to Jarvis Shu, who's off to a great start here this weekend at 4-0, as is Hamilton. Hamilton taking the Esper approach here this weekend. He doesn't want to be playing Mountains, as here comes Kari Zev and the Monkey.
Ragavan.
Hamilton's going to fall down to 17. Does Jarvis have a follow-up play?
Dude, I was totally going to be Ragavan if I won the Invitational I top 4'd last year. I was looking over the list, because when you sit down for top 8 of the Invitational, you get a list of all the available tokens you can be, and Ragavan was right there just cackling at me.
That's a good token to be, I think. That's a good token.
Not really, because it disappears immediately.
But you get a little time.
Half the time when you're playing it and like not on a camera match, you just say attack for 3 when you tap your carries up, you know. I wanted the token that's going to stay and play the whole time.
But people need it.
Jacob Bao Energy, perfect one.
That's a good one.
It's just always there.
Soulscar Mage, that's not a great follow-up on turn 4. We were expecting Hazrat or Chandra rekindling Phoenix Jarvis, not just the 1-2 for 1.
Well, it's possible he has Hazarat in hand, but wants to like throw a burn spell at Michael EOT.
Maybe get the hand a little emptier.
Yeah.
Hamilton's going to sacrifice an irrigated farmland. His 4th land will be a Drowned Catacomb, simply pass the turn back. So has access to all the colors of mana necessary with a couple blue-black duels in that hub. Here's how Jarvis wants to move forward. He's going to attack here with Ragavan, Kari Zev, and of course the Soulscar Mage. Goblin Chain Whirl, you may have missed her in the commentary. That got hit by an Ether Meltdown. And Jarvis will just play him out and pass the turn back.
He might be on empty, or just have a bunch of like shocks and stuff in hand.
Commit to Memory will put Kari Zev into the deck as we head back over to Michael Hamilton, who's picked up a copy of Teferi. Not a bad battlefield to put it down on.
Yeah, especially if you can untap with a removal spell, like another Ether Meltdown, or something to take care of the Soulscar Mage.
Now, this is interesting because Jarvis actually does have a copy of Chandra, Torch of Defiance in hand. He is 100% slow playing that, looking for a better spot to deploy it because the rest of his hand is just land, so he needs it to resolve.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very common play from aggressive strategies when you have one of your more powerful 3, 4, 5 drops. You don't want it to get hit with a counterspell. You want to try to bait out that counterspell with a different, less impactful one.
Well, Jarvis is going to make an attempt now at Chandra, Torch of Defiance, realizing my hand's not that good. I need to try to resolve this. Negate will say no. Soulscar Mage, of course, will get a Prowess Trigger, come in for 2. Hamilton going to fall down to 7, it appears, as he'll cycle another one of these lands and draw a card.
Yeah, and Jarvis correctly identifying that, you know, he doesn't have another play. He also gets a trigger from Prowess off of the Soulscar Mage. Maybe Michael doesn't have a counterspell, you know? He's been cycling a bunch, but his hand could be all lands. They do play 26, 27 lands after all.
Field of Ruin into Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. This is why you want to play blue and white cards, huh?
Yeah.
This thing right here? You think this card's good?
Is gas.
I'm
pretty sure it won the vintage event, the buddy you were talking about that you met, whose name you don't remember.
It wouldn't surprise me. This card is one heck of a card.
Yeah, the fact that you get to untap 2 lands, effectively making Teferi only cost 3 mana is criminal.
Hazaret is here. Will this resolve? This is timely. Disallow, not dissolve. Disallow will take care of that.
I actually like leading with the Kari Zev there instead of the Hazaret. He knows you have the Kari Zev in hand. You're going to be able to play it, and you know, you kind of want to try to bait out that Disallow. It's the only card he didn't know about in that spot was the Hazaret.
Yeah. Jarvis couldn't get to resolve, though. Tried, failed, unfortunately for him. Hazaret obviously going to play a key role in things, certainly in this matchup. 4 copies in Jarvis's main deck here this weekend. For Hamilton, Todd, starting to take control with Teferi.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he can answer these 2 creatures on the battlefield and maybe has 1 or 2 more follow-ups for the next few turns, he's drawing effectively 2 cards a turn. He decides to take a much more passive route with Teferi, just getting the Kari Zev off the battlefield so that he can resolve this Glimmer of Genius and not take too much damage.
Looks like Yu is going to attack here for one. Not sure if it's going towards Teferi or Hamilton. Looks like it's going towards Hamilton. Jarvis basically saying, look, I got to try to kill you. I'm not going to be able to beat Teferi, especially if you have another one in your hand. As Hamilton's going to cycle again. So this is actually one of the benefits of this Esper deck I didn't realize. A lot of the lands cycle.
Oh, yeah, and the fact that they pair very well with lands like Glacial Fortress or Drowned Catacomb means that they have more than just that one utility in the deck.
Hamilton's going to pick up another copy of Teferi. Looks like there might be another copy of Ether Meltdown in hand. Teferi's going to draw a card. Untapping some land soon enough, I'm sure, as there's another copy of Disallow. Hamilton starting to get a grip on this game. It's not over yet for Jarvis, as there's a Drowned Catacombs for the turn, but starting to get a grip on it as we'll head back over to you.
Yeah, I mean, with the copy of Disallow in hand, I wouldn't be surprised here if Michael actually ticks down on Teferi next turn, and then plays the backup Teferi, ticks it up, starts pushing it towards Ultimate.
This is an on-crop Crasher.
This would be a fantastic spot for Jarvis' last card to be Hazoret, because Michael is effectively forced to use his counterspell here.
And he will use that counterspell, as you mentioned. Disallow will take care of the Crasher. Soul Scar Mage will come in for one, going to knock Hamilton down to 4. As far as burn spells in Jarvis Yu's deck, well, you can look at the traditional sense, of course, and say he's got 3 Lightning Strikes. You can look at a more unconventional approach and say he's got 3 Chandras, only 2 left in the deck. Hazoret can count as a burn spell. Bomat Courier can kind of count as a burn spell. You can say the same thing about On-Crop Crasher and Earthshaker Kenra, too. So, still live.
Yeah, for sure.
Still live.
I mean, the burn spells like Lightning Strike. Oof.
There's carries, though.
I would still hold it if I were Jarvis, because if you draw Hazoret, you still have the ability to discard it. You don't need that 8th land in play.
Sure.
But I think, he put the wrong one on the battlefield. He's, just put it in play. You already know about it. It's one of those common misconceptions where when you feel like you make a mistake and you want to try to cover it up or whatever, just, realize that you made the mistake and make the optimal play.
The interesting thing about this red deck, Todd, especially with Ragnap Runes being banned, which I think is for the best, 24 mountains. So you don't play Sunscorched Desert. He's not splashing black, and because you have Chain Whirlers in your deck, you really can't play any kind of weird value lands.
Yeah, it's interesting. Chain Whirler does constrain your mana a bit, but, I mean, the black-red decks occasionally play, like, 1 If Near Dead lands, 1 Scavenger Grounds, and they still do okay. I think you could probably get away with playing 1 or 2 Scavenger Grounds in the 75 for this mono-red deck to make sure that you have some cheap way to mitigate the effects of the Scarab God or Torrential Gearhulk.
Yeah, which Michael Hamilton does have in hand right now. He is playing 1 Scarab God and 3 Torrential Gearhulks to go along with those 3 Teferis, as Teferi continues to draw cards and tick on up closer to that ultimate. Up to 6 loyalty counters now is the powerful Planeswalker. Hamilton's hand is stacked up pretty good. He's got Search for Escant over there. And I know the Scarab God has not been impressive since the arrival of Dominaria, but it's pretty good on an empty battlefield.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's same old Scarab God. What are you going to do? If you don't kill it, you're dead. You play the Scarab God against mono red, they don't kill you that turn, you're dead.
Well, Jarvis is going to pack it up because he knows he can't beat the Scarab God, so he will concede the game right away after he drew his cards. Michael Hamilton looking at top 8 another invitational here this weekend. He wins game number 1 over Jarvis Yu. Esper Control. I would say very quickly, but it was only sort of quickly up a game over mono red aggro.
It's about as quickly as you can ask for an Esper Control deck.
I would agree.
Don't be talking no smack. He's playing fast.
These players are going to go to their sideboards. We'll be doing the same after a word from these messages. We are back, getting ready for game number 2 here between Jarvis Yu and Michael Hamilton. That's Mono Red Aggro against Esper Control. Cedric Phillips, Todd Anderson here in the booth. Feel free to join the conversation on Twitter at SCG Tour, hashtag SCGCON, because we are here at SCGCon, the first of hopefully many.
SCGCon, SCGCon.
We take a look at Jarvis Yu's sideboard of 3 Glorybringers, 3 Chandra's Defeat, 3 Fight with Fires, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Rekindling Phoenix, Aether Sphere Harvester, and additional mountain if he wants to board up to 25 lands. I'm not sure if he wants to here in this matchup, Todd, but I ask you.
No, for sure he does not. Even though he's bringing in cards like Glorybringer, Rekindling Phoenix, and Aether Sphere Harvester, he can't really afford to flood out like he did last game. And even though you might hit your stuff on curve, I think you take the approach where you hope that you don't get flooded or hope you don't get mana screwed and keep your land count low. Yeah. Those are the cards I would bring in. Harvester, Phoenix, and Glorybringer.
For Michael Hamilton, 4 Glintly Siphoner, 4 Cast Down, 3 Duress, a Negate, a Jace's Defeat, a Search for His Content, and an Arguel's Bloodfest. Additional removal spells and discard might be okay. What do you think?
I don't really like the discard spells. The mono-red deck specifically has a lot more creatures than the black-red one. The black-red one being a little more focused on things like Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Occasionally they have Karns in the main deck, and Heart of Kiran. From his side, Glintly Siphoner, obviously for the matchups that don't have Goblin Chainwhirler. Cast Down, very good in this matchup, even though it can be a little awkward against a draw featuring Kari Zev.
Yep.
But still worthwhile, and that's why it's in the sideboard there.
To note, in Jarvis Yu's main deck here, only 2 copies of Kari Zev. Looks like Cast Down's going to be able to kill most things. Obviously not going to kill Hazoret, but most things don't.
What does?
Well, you're underway here with a Soul Scar Mage from Jarvis. Had no 1-drop this game. Does have a 1-drop. Excuse me, had no 1-drop last game. Does have a 1-drop this game. Is he going to go 1-2? Well, sort of. He's got things that'll enter the battlefield, and that's good.
1.5.
We're going to head back over to Hamilton, who started with the Fetid Pools. He'll draw a card. This deck's slow off the ground, though Fatal Push will allow him to catch up a little bit. You see his first 2 lands entering the battlefield tap. The second one, an Irrigated Farmland. Earthshaker Kenra is going to come on down. This will be an attack here for 4. Fatal Push will take care of the 2-1. 2 damage will come through. Hamilton will fall down to 17. This is a much better start for Jarvis.
Oh, for sure. Unfortunately, his 1-drop is not Bomat Courier, or he would be in significantly better shape. I think Michael would have been forced to Fatal Push one of those as opposed to the 2-power Earthshaker Kenra. A little awkwardly, the Soulscar Mages don't have a lot of ways to be pumped after sideboard. It's basically just Lightning Strike in a small number, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and then, of course, the 1 Aether Sphere Harvester out of the board.
Yeah, it's not exciting as Soulscar Mage after sideboard, but it does get the pressure going. It makes it so that Michael has to deal with something. You saw Harvester pre-combat that pumped both the Soulscar Mages. So instead of an attack for 2, it's an attack for 4, which is why Hamilton's fallen down to 13. He's on his way down to 11 now, and Jarvis will follow up with the Chain Whirler. Wish, 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 as Owen Turtenwald was doing at the Pro Tour. Screaming, whoever would hear him, I am the Chain Whirler. As here is an Essence Extraction. Going to take care of the Chain Whirler, give Michael Hamilton 3 more life. I actually forgot that Essence Extraction was legal for a while.
I've researched this format quite a bit. Essence Extraction is a little bit better than the 2-mana one that gains 2 life.
Moment of Craving.
Moment of Craving.
Yeah.
There it is. Essence Extraction, I think, is a little bit better. Just the being able to deal with Goblin Chain Whirler cleanly, even though it costs 1 more mana, I think it's a little bit better.
Land Sex came rolling off the top there for Michael Hamilton. It was a hub, and you have to imagine with the way that he played that, there's probably a Torrential Gearhulk on the way. Nah, you don't think so? Hamilton's going to take that too. This is a Hazoret.
Jarvis was so aware of the potential for Torrential Gearhulk that he attacked first, trying to resolve the Hazoret post-combat. Michael with a heads-up play, just letting the 2 Soulscar Mages ping him, and then playing the Gearhulk to safely deal with the ever-powerful Perforos.
Hazoret bites the dust. Supreme Will via Torrential Gearhulk will take care of that. Looks like Hamilton's not in a rush here. Torrential Gearhulk going to play a little bit of defense as we head back over to Jarvis Yu. This is an Earthshaker Kenra.
Yeah, Michael here holding up the Gearhulk. He could have potentially gone to Fairy Plus and then held up Disallow, but he really wanted to put a little more pressure on the battlefield, and the Essence Extraction out of the graveyard also is able to gain him a little more life here, which is very important against Mono Red.
Yeah, this is getting tougher for Jarvis Yu now, as Essence Extraction will be recast from the graveyard via Torrential Gearhulk. Now there are 2 big Gearhulks on the battlefield. Hamilton does have a copy of Teferi, as you mentioned, along with Disallow in hand. And I don't want to say you're convincing me that Esper's good, but it's hard to argue because it's looking really good right now.
He's untapping it. Why is he not attacking? He's on a 2-turn clock.
Playing very
Get
defensively.
him dead!
Well, I know what you would have done.
Get him dead! Well, I think here you just let this resolve. The damage can't go to Teferi. You have the Vraska's Contempt. You want to use the Disallow later on, I believe.
Well, Disallow is going to be used here. Jarvis fumbles things a little bit. His hand gets turned up. So Michael Hamilton knows there's a Glorybringer over there, but ultimately that Glorybringer is not really going to play a huge role in things. They'll recreate the battlefield here in just a moment, make sure everything is okay. But it looks like, to me, Todd, as they get things shorn up here, that Esper Control is going to walk away with this one.
Yeah, it looked like Jarvis trying to pull a Mike Long.
Yeah.
Just throw everything on my lap.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I know. Jarvis is stand-up. I love Jarvis. Yeah, this Disallow on the Chandra, it doesn't really matter. Vraska's Contempt, Chandra are very similar in this spot. You know, both of them can protect from, you know, problematic permanents. Whether he disallows this Chandra or Vraska's Contempts it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that Disallow that Michael has played, I'll have to put that in the graveyard here in just a moment, but it does look like the two of them are just getting the battlefield situated here after the mini earthquake that did take place here in Roanoke.
I blame the fault lines in Roanoke, Virginia.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. What else could it be?
I don't know.
What else could it be? So I think we're probably all good now. Might be a shuffle taking place. Ah, he's missing an Earthshaker Kenra from his graveyard.
I'm going to guess it slipped into his deck somehow. I don't know how.
You and me both.
Either that or it's on the floor. But he is definitely missing an Earthshaker Kenra. It was killed by a Fatal Push on turn 3.
Players look like they're going to sort this out here on the battlefield. And once they do, I think we'll come back and join this match. I think they're just trying to figure out if the Earthshaker Kenra should even be on the battlefield, the one that Jarvis does have. So in the meantime, looking at them is not great. +2 + 2 = 5. What's the deal with that shirt?
I don't know. It's probably promoting something.
I have a lot of questions about that shirt.
You know, he's not wrong. Oh, wait. Math.
It's okay. That's
Math.
why you're up here now.
Quick math.
Washed up. Can't head back down there anymore.
You know, I'm having a grand old time hanging out with my cats at home every weekend. You know, y'all are just lucky the invitational's in Roanoke, or else I wouldn't even be here.
We're lucky. You're lucky. It's here in Roanoke.
No,
it does look like maybe Esper has the tools to fight against mono red. Yes, red black.
So the benefit of the blue-white control decks in general was that Fumigate was very good, and Settled Wreckage was pretty good. But this blue-black deck actually preys on these red aggressive decks a little more easily because they have access to things like Vraska's Contempt and Fatal Push, two very strong cards against mono red and black red. I mean, we just watched this Esper deck systematically pick apart Jarvis' mono red deck. Of course, in game 1 he flooded a little bit. He didn't start with a 1-drop, but his draw wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, his draw was totally fine. It wasn't Bomat Courier. He was Soulscar Mage, but I don't want to say they're effectively the same, but they're both dealing damage. They're both getting the game started.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is nice, but it looks like, Michael has done a really nice job of just kind of stabilizing things. And as you saw him play that 6th land right off the top of the deck onto the battlefield, get his energy from Aether Hub, that's where these kind of blue-black strategies are so effective, because once you can start casting Torrential Gearhulks, it seems hard to lose, Todd.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a reason why Torrential Gearhulk has been a cornerstone in Control for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
It got unseated a little bit by the Scarab God. Lately, Teferi has basically turned Control decks into a nightmare. But Torrential Gearhulk is still obviously insanely good. It is much better in black-based Control as opposed to white-based Control. In white-based Control, a lot of your removal spells are enchantments.
Sure.
So your Torrential Gearhulk is usually only flashing back a counter spell or a card draw spell.
Yep.
And in this deck, we have Fatal Push, Vraska's Contempt, counter spells like Supreme Will, Disallow, even Essence
Extraction.
Extraction.
Yeah, you saw at least one of those.
Yeah.
I think that Gearhulk is much better in blue-black than it is blue-white. No question about that. And I'm curious to see if players are going to still stick with blue-white. You saw Brad at the Pro Tour play his approach deck.
Yep.
And that's, truthfully, Brad's approach deck is actually, I know people call it blue-white control. It's actually more of a white-blue control deck. There are a lot of white spells, not a ton of blue spells. The counterspell here, it's a fairy there, but for the most part, he's flying. He's slinging cast-outs, approaches, settles, stuff like that. So he's using a lot of white-based permission, which makes Gearhulk a lot worse in his deck.
No, I definitely agree with that. I believe that Brad was also playing Torrential Gearhulk, though. So I think that's just a testament to the power of the card. And, you can go two ways with these blue-white control decks. You can either be full-on, no creatures, only Teferi as a win condition.
Yep.
And that's what we saw more recently, the finals of a Grand Prix or the winner of a Grand Prix.
Yeah, Grand Prix Birmingham. In the finals over there, a couple of weeks ago, about a little over a month ago.
Broke it. He broke the form. He was just like, my Teferi can be a win condition because it can tuck itself. I don't need anything else. I don't even need the deserts that mill you.
Yeah, the Ipnu Rivulets, don't even need those. I am curious, because that deck came out before GP Birmingham, what would happen at the Pro Tour? People didn't know about that deck.
I don't know. It probably still would have been dominated by red.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, the red decks are just too powerful and consistent. There's too many strong cards. And most people who played Control did not opt to play the mono Teferi version. They were playing approaches and such like that. I don't know. It's tough.
It's just kind of interesting. I know with the way that the metagame kind of evolved, we went from blue-white control at the first SCG, Rudy Briscoe winning with his team there, Jonathan Job and company. And then you had white-black aggro kind of go nuts on Magic Online and tournaments. And then we went to red, and then we went to blue-white creatureless control with the fairies, and then we kind of came full circle. I know players have tried green decks like Constrictor. Jeff Cunningham's been working on that deck on Magic Online to great success.
Doing very well too.
Yeah, he's been really doing well with that deck. Some players have been trying mono green aggro with Steel Leaf Champion and Gultas and Ronuses and stuff to moderate success, though it's been doing pretty well in Magic Online. But ultimately, red has the most powerful thing going on. Doesn't mean he can't be beat, because it looks like Jarvis is going to lose this match, but I don't know. Like, coming into this tournament, I asked you this question, what you playing Modern, like, would you have just sleeved up red, like Owen's red-black deck, or like why Darby's mono red deck, and just said, we'll see how this goes? I
mean, when it comes to Standard, I think trusting Owen is going to be your safest bet, especially if you are not well-versed in the Standard format. If you don't know the nuances, your cards will bail you out if you make a mistake. Glorybringer, Hazoret, even Pia Nalara on 3 is very good right now, especially against these control decks. And I like his version, the version that started to pick up a little more popularity after Corey Baumeister's 8-0 in a Magic Online Championship qualifier 3 weeks ago, where these decks started to shy away from Bomat Courier because of Goblin Chain Whirler.
Sure.
But then they just realized it's just the best card in the deck. And if you're starting a game with a turn 1 Bomat Courier, that's better than anything else you could be doing.
Yeah.
Even if it dies a Chain Whirler, a lot of times you still get to draw some cards off of it if you can empty your hand fast enough.
Yeah, and there's always the argument too of just if they don't have Chain Whirler, then this is great.
Yeah.
So it forces the opponent to have Chain Whirler or removal spell, and you do get your percentage points if people are playing Esper, if people are playing other control decks too.
Sure.
So Bomat Courier is kind of interesting to see how players, which red decks are people going to build? Which red decks are we going to play? Are you going to be more mid-rangey? You're going to be red-black mid-rangey? Are you going to be red-black kind of aggro-y? Or are you just going to be mono-red like Wyatt Darby? Because ultimately that's what won the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and shout out to Darby, because that match was fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
The glory banger off the top to seal the deal. I didn't even see the kill at first. Like, once the commentators said, "Is he dead?" I just perked up in my chair. I was like, "He's dead."
Yeah. It's funny. Wyatt Darby, he actually wrote a tournament report for that for the Pro Tour.
Where can you see that at?
Got published at StarCityGames.com. And he mentioned in his first Pro Tour, the first card that he opened in his first draft, because this is only his second Pro Tour.
Glory Banger?
He opened Glorybringer in his Amonkhet draft. So it's a heck of a story, and it's a heck of a win for him. So hopefully we'll see more of him, both on the SC Tour and on the Pro Tour circuit. But I think our match is ready to continue, so I think we're going to head back down that way here in just a moment. It looks like they're still resolving and fixing the situation really quick. So I don't know if we have a StarCityGames.com weekly sale to talk about. That's my verbal.
Ooh, can I put Hallowfound in my Bloodbraid Elf deck again?
You can do whatever you want. You can build your deck however you want, man.
All right.
That's my verbal cue to throw to a slide for us to fill time with. So we'll see if we have one of those.
We'll see if the director actually does the thing.
But we would love to. Hey, for you Pauper fans out there, we have some of the finest singles for Pauper, including Gurmag Angler, Standard Bearer. I think that's from Apocalypse, Lightning Bolt, and Fairy Miscreant. Up to 20% off select Pauper singles. Ends Monday at 10:59 a.m. We'll have a new sale for you at 11 a.m. East Coast time at go.starcitygames.com/weekly sale. With that, I've been told in this headset that everything is good down there. And I believe the people I work with, so let's go back down there.
You know what they don't make enough nowadays?
What's that?
Flag bearers.
I think it's better if they don't.
Spellskite should have been a flag bearer. Just creature type flag bearer, you can do the thing.
I was going to say that flag bearers are already complicated enough, but Spellskite's more complicated than flag bearers.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah, but I've seen enough play that it's, people understand it, kind of.
So, yes, sort of.
Dude, I love with 2 Spell Skites and Wild Defiance, you can actually just bounce and pump them both infinite.
Depends how much life you have.
Well, yeah. Not
Yeah.
infinite,
Yeah.
but a bunch.
So it looks like we've created the battlefield here. This is just, we can't have Jarvis in the feature match area, like behavior like this.
Look, he is not the first person to accidentally flip the mat a little bit when in the feature. It's stressful.
He's rumbling around here, creating earthquakes.
You're 4-0 in your first invitational. You get nervous when you're on camera playing against a invitational top 8 competitor.
Yeah, well, I got bad news for Jarvis too. Is that Michael's hand is it's good.
2 removal spells.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, here we go. I want to get in with both, but Michael,
no.
do your thing. Do your thing. He's playing it safe. But you're the most aggressive player on the SCG tour.
Roll Tide.
You don't mess around, man. I know you would have attacked those Gearhawks a long time ago.
Previous turn with Disallow and/or Vraska's Contempt, your Teferi's at 5, just shoving for 10 damage twice.
It looks like the judge is just giving the ruling on what happened with the table earthquake. So play will resume here in just a moment, but I know you love to attack. You just want to get the game over with.
He's got to be miserable. Jarvis wants the game over too, trust me.
Yeah.
He knows he's dead. He can't beat Teferi 2 Gearhulk's 2 removable spells. 5-6 versus Earthshaker Kenra.
That's anybody's game. That's anybody's game, I think. We will see what's going to happen here, I imagine, in just a moment.
I wonder what the line is for Jarvis to just pick up his cards and leave.
So it looks like, and you know what? I'm going to agree with him. We're going to come back to the booth there. Jarvis is a little frustrated right now, and he's going to appeal the ruling because he was going to be given a penalty, and I would appeal that ruling.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of complications that can happen in the feature match area. Coverage is not a normal part of a tournament, and you shouldn't be expected as a player to be penalized when you are put on camera. And if that playmat just weren't there, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, but
we need it there.
Also, purely accidental.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be a penalty given out. I think you recreate the battlefield as best you can.
No cards were revealed except for his hand, and that's okay.
He's giving away info. I have a goalie bring my hand, and you're going to kill it and kill me eventually. So I agree with appealing the ruling by Jarvis Yu. And I'm not going to sit there and wait for an appeal. I'm going to try to bring another match of Magic, and so we're going to try to do that here in just a moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only victory he's going to get in that match anyway.
Well, yeah, he's not going to win. Yeah. I agree.
Hopefully he wins the appeal. Love you, Jarvis.
Yeah. I would be shocked if he was able to come back in that game. Stranger things have happened, of course, but I would be shocked. Yes. I hope he has a lot of copies of Braid in his hand.
He doesn't.
I know.
In his deck, I bet there's 0.
I bet there are also 0. He has 4 to start.
Yeah.
Which is good. But he's in a lot of trouble.
One Teferi is already too much, let alone 2 Torrential Gearhulks on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. We got decklist coming. We're going to find out. By the way, because I find it unlikely we're going to jump back to that Jarvis Yu Michael Hamilton match, I'm going to call it. Michael Hamilton wins 2-0 over Jarvis Yu.
Same.
Esper Control.
If Jarvis does come back,
then I want to see that tape.
I'll buy you Waffle House.
Ooh,
How about that?
Yes. Joseph Herrera. What do we got going on here? I got some interest. Okay, he brewed.
Ugh.
What do you have?
I don't want it. I don't want to look at it. It's blue-white control, no win cons.
Yeah, this is all you. This is all you, buddy.
Thanks.
No problem.
Tyler Maddox.
Joseph Herrera, who we're going to watch right now. Let's head down there. I'll tell you what's going on as soon as we head down there. Both these players 3-1, and that's not a typo. It is blue-black Mirari Conjecture.
Oh, that's awesome. This is not the matchup he wanted to play against, though.
Well, they're both creatureless.
That looks like a
never mind. There is a creature.
On the battlefield.
There is a creature on the battlefield.
Nezahal, the Primal Tide.
There is a creature on the battlefield.
Why don't you cast a spell? Cast a non-creature spell. Just do it. Just do it!
We're going to take a look at Nezahal here in just a moment. We got to update this battlefield. Here's a Doomfall.
I'm going to draw a card.
Yeah. Teferi the draw.
Now, he can discard his hand here to save the Nezahal. Or just cast Teferi next turn, which is probably good enough.
All right, Nezahal Primal Tide. 7 mana, 7/7. Can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell like a Doomfall, draw a card. Discard 3 calls. Discard 3 cards. Exile Nezahal. That's dead now.
You
Oh,
shouldn't
no.
have done that.
Oh, no.
You could have cast a fairy
Oh,
and
no.
had disallow mana up, and no, you did. That's
This is-
one way
this is
that
bad
you
news.
get out from underneath the thumb of Nezahal.
This is bad news for Tyler Maddox. Joseph Herrera is very quickly untapping. Going to play an island, pass the turn back. So now these players are going to play a little bit of speed magic, huh? We'll figure out what that Sorcerer Spyglass is naming, because I'm very interested in that, because that could be naming Teferi. Right?
I believe Maddox accidentally cycled the wrong thing. Okay.
Okay, fix it. There we go.
They're fixed. He did have the irrigated farmland in hand. I guarantee that. So.
It looks like Scavenging Grounds is the name there with Sorcerer Spyglass. Okay.
Mirage Conjecture is graveyard focused, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it?
The card?
Yeah, I thought, no, that's the one that's like, isn't that one just the abilities of all the Tezzerats put together?
No. You're thinking Antiquities War.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Mirage Conjecture
You're right.
is graveyard based.
You're right.
We'll get that up here in just a moment.
Oh, he just peeled one,
Yeah.
too. Let's go, baby. Chapter 1. What you getting back?
There's
No!
You're not getting anything back.
Nice top deck.
Wanted to return target instant card from his graveyard. Didn't get to, as Herrera's going to just draw and play an island. So these players are just drawing and playing off the top right now. Herrera will draw. He'll play a Drowned Catacombs.
Herrera playing all his lands, assuming that he basically just wants to hit all his land drops so that if he draws a card draw spell, he can chain that into something else.
Yeah, I'm taking a look. I'm seeing if there's anything like Pull from Tomorrow, which is not in here.
That's a T.
Secrets of the Golden City is
Draw 2 cards, or if you have the city's blessing, draw 3 cards.
Well
and
done.
It has Ascend.
well done.
You
I'm impressed.
won.
I'm impressed that you knew that.
Why?
Why can't I be?
I don't know. You think a card says draw a card on it, and I don't know what it is?
Let's see what Herrera's drawn now.
Here's one for you. Afflict.
2 black. Target creature gets -1/-1. Draw a card from either Invasion or Plane Shift. I think
Wrong.
it's an instant. What?
It's from Odyssey.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
Odyssey had a lot of little cantrips, and I know all of them.
I got it mostly right.
You did get it mostly right. You know, if you had just stopped before you started talking
I was
about
curious
the
if it was an
story.
instant.
All right, what's going on in this game? Tell me about it.
I'll tell you that a Pull from Tomorrow, not anticipated. Pull from Tomorrow is resolving. That's your discard.
Oh, that's
Discard is I believe that's a seal away, and now Negate is going to take care of Duress. What's the follow-up? The follow-up is Search for Escanta, which is a good follow-up. However, that one does not really outpace Teferi, and Invoke the Divine is going to kill it.
I was gonna say Joseph Herrera looks about as dead as Jarvis.
Yeah, it's getting bad out here.
Pull from Tomorrow resolved was a pretty big deal.
We're going to go back over to Tyler, who's got that active Teferi and just picked up a copy of Dissolve. Excuse me, I keep calling it Dissolve. Disallow. Another Disallow.
Cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a counterspell and a hard one to beat right now for Joseph.
Yeah, Tyler's hand is stacked. He has 2 copies of Disallow. He has a Commit to Memory. Teferi active on the battlefield. There's no way anything's going to resolve ever again for Joseph. Tyler can even just ultimate and then just pass turn for 7 turns straight and exile the entire board.
Well, this is how his deck kind of goes about winning. I know he has Nezahal in his deck, but for the most part, Teferi is going to be the win condition here. Tyler going to cycle and draw a card, untap 2 lands. Teferi on 8 counters. Let's see what this is from Herrera. This is a blink of an eye. I think that's going to get countered 2 probably.
Yeah, we just want to ultimate here.
Yep.
I would have loved, actually, to see Tyler use Commit there. Next turn, ultimate Teferi, and then gamble a little bit with the memory and exile 7 lands.
I think we might be going to game number 3 here in just a moment. Not sure. Yeah, that looks like it was game 2. So take a look at the clock. Not a lot of time left here in the match, so this will be kind of interesting. Okay, we're going to take a short break. Get ready here for game number 3 between Maddox and Herrera right now. All right, let's get ready here for game number 3, which is in progress a little bit. So we will just zoom on in and let you know that there is a Sorcerer's Spyglass being cast here by Joseph Herrera. And we will confirm what that is naming here in just a moment. A couple of lands on the battlefield for both of them. It is naming Teferi this go around, which is a pretty good choice. Yeah, back over to Herrera. He's on the play here since he lost the last game. So he'll get to play a third land, which is a Submerged Boneyard, and we'll pass back over to Tyler. Tyler will play an island and pass the turn back, so players not having any difficulty hitting their land drops thus far.
Yeah, you can see the pace of play here is pretty high. They are both aware of the clock. They know that games can last for a pretty long time in this particular type of matchup, and neither of them wants to pick up a draw here at 3-1.
Looks like Divination going to be countered. And then you'll see a land there in Fetid Pools, and we'll head back over to Tyler Maddox, who's drawing the gate. He'll play a fourth land. That's an island. Pass the turn back over to Herrera. Herrera will draw.
You know, this Mirari Conjecture deck is about as dirtily as it gets. You know, its whole game plan just cast Mirari's Conjecture, cast a lot of draw spells, eventually cast Mastermind's Acquisition, getting Torment of Hailfire or some other weirdo win condition out of the sideboard. Metallurgic Summoning being one of the cooler ones.
Here is Teferi. Sorcerer's Spyglass is going to shut it down, so the Powerful Planeswalker doesn't get to do much of anything just yet, but it is on the battlefield, and if Maddox can find a way to get the Sorcerer's Spyglass off the battlefield, life is good.
Yeah, I mean, he has a couple of ways in his deck. It looks like he's holding on to Invoke the Divine right now, too.
This looks like it's going to be an opt here from Joseph Herrera.
It's really heads up by Maddox. A lot of players would wait to get the Sorcerer's Spyglass off the battlefield with something like the Invoke the Divine while Joseph's tapped out, but Tyler actually putting more emphasis on getting the Teferi on the battlefield so he can play a cheaper way to answer the Spyglass this turn and use something like Negate to protect it from an opposing counterspell.
Well, Negate is going to take care of the Invoke the Divine, and I think that Tyler Maddox actually has a Disallow in hand, but he can't cast it. Now he's going to cycle a cast out. Wow.
That's bold, Cotton.
Oof. That's an answer to the Spyglass.
Yeah, he could have waited till he had a 6th land, or he could have gone for the cast out instead. But instead, just, you know, choosing to go for the Invoke the Divine here and saving the cast out for something more important. But realizing, you know, he might not win that fight. So just using his resources as they come up.
Both these players playing a little bit of draw go here. Here's an attempt at commit from Commit's Memory, and that will be a Disallow. We'll counter that.
Yeah, this Spyglass doing some work. It's forcing Tyler's hand to play all these interactive spells to try to deal with the Spyglass to turn on Teferi. Teferi being the backbone of this blue-white control deck. But Joseph's making Tyler play his game.
History of Benalia going to come on down. Chapter 1 is going to make a 2/2 Knight with Vigilance. We'll head back over to Joseph Herrera here in just a moment. Joseph Herrera is starting to get a little bit of a grip on this game. I know Teferi is on the battlefield there for Tyler Maddox, but it can't do anything at the moment. We will get some Knight tokens out there with Vigilance soon enough. However, Search for Escanta will resolve here for Herrera. He'll take that card.
I think this is going to be a Duress, which he found off the top. Going to make sure the coast is clear so he can actually cast some Mirari's Conjecture and start gaining some mad value.
Here is the Duress. Disallow will counter that because it just would have gotten taken. Last card in Tyler Maddox's hand is actually a copy of Teferi. A redundant copy is how here is the Mirari's Conjecture. And we'll take a look at it again as Chapter 1 is going to allow Herrera to return, I believe, an instant to his hand. The next chapter will allow him to return a sorcery card from the graveyard to hand. And then the third chapter, until end of turn, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So a few turns from now, if things go well for Joseph Herrera, he's going to get to go absolutely nuts, Todd.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Joseph just drawing 4+ cards with divinations and such. The counter spells are not particularly good with Conjecture because they're more reactive, and you want cards with Conjecture that are proactive, can gain you, an advantage the moment you cast them. But the fact that it forks everything, even if your opponent's able to counter the first one, you still get the additional copy.
The second chapter of History Banala did go off there for Tyler Maddox, so you got to make another 2/2 white creature token with Vigilance. The third chapter will probably go off here in just a moment. Not sure if Herrera's going to have an answer to it, but I'm not sure Herrera needs an answer to it as he's going to return to Divination and keep building up all the value.
Now, he has a choice here. He can Divination just to draw 2 cards, or he can save it for next turn and try to have a big one. Right here, he's got a Yahini's Expertise, I believe, which is pretty tight, and a great answer for History Banali, which all these blue-white decks tend to bring in after sideboard.
And now he gets to cast a Divination off it, too?
Yeah, Tempo Divination is nice as well. Looks like Land Doomfall is pretty good here, too.
Joseph Herrera doing pretty darn well for himself right now. That History of Banala is going to go up to Chapter 3. It's not going to do much of anything. And now we'll see the Memorial turn over a couple of cards here for Joseph Maddox, but not too much to do with them.
He found and invoked the Divine to unlock Teferi, so if he has a counterspell to protect from negate, then he might actually just unlock his Teferi here and just bulldoze Joseph over the next few turns.
Yeah, but he's hoping he can get it.
I don't think he drew the counterspell. He's very hesitant about using this card.
That's
a good one.
Okay, so he's going to go to Nezahal with only 2 cards in hand, too. And you can see Herrera's hand. I believe there's not only a Doomfall, but also a Vraska's Contempt. So the Elder Dinosaur, though it is powerful in Control Mirrors, maybe not as powerful as one may think, as Herrera will transform the Searcher Escanta into Escanta, the Sunken Ruin. Now, his spells, well, there'll be multiples of them with new targets as well.
Yeah, I like the Doomfall here. I don't actually know how clones work with modal spells. I believe that they are the same mode. Like if you Doomfall choose player exiles a creature, both of them have to be, but I'm not positive.
You have to lock it in.
Okay.
Yeah, it copies what you lock in.
Gotcha.
Vraska's Contempt is going to take care of Nezahal and Teferi, and now here's Doomfall times 2.
Yeah, so Conjecture here, effectively drawing 3 cards, right? So he got 2 back, and he got 2 copies of Doomfall.
And he got to kill 2 permanents as well. So Tyler Maddox is left with just a Search for Escanta right now. That was off the top of the deck. Doomfall didn't see that one. So maybe that can help Tyler Maddox get back in this game so we go back over to Joe Herrera.
I got really excited for a minute. I forgot the checklist existed, and I was like, "Ooh, Jace Prince Prodigy." That was my first instinct. 2 mana blue checklist card.
Not quite, my friend. Not quite. As Herrera's going to get back a copy of Disallow with the Mirari Conjecture. He keeps looking at the opt, and yeah, he's not going to get the opt. He'll take the Disallow. We're going to go back over to Tyler Maddox. He'll leave his Search for Escanta there. Keep the card on top.
Interesting.
And now Herrera is actually going to activate his Escanta. Ooh, a pull from tomorrow.
That's a tight one. I thought the jig was up. He didn't actually flip his Escanta because Joseph has access to Field of Ruin. He didn't want to burn it just yet. And I was trying to think of the card, and I thought maybe Torrential Gearhulk. And then I remembered he's not playing Torrential Gearhulk. So it just had to be something like Commit to Memory or the pull from tomorrow.
Duress is the find here for Herrera. He will return a card now with the Mirari's Conjecture. He's going to get back a Divination. So looking to get deeper into his deck, which is something he has no problem doing. This will be that Divination, it appears. And now Herrera will draw 2 cards. Speaking of the number 2, we're under 2 minutes to go here in this match between Herrera and Maddox. Drowned Catacombs the land for the turn there for Joseph. And now here is Duress. Get an idea of what did Tyler Maddox draw over all these turns. Another pull from tomorrow. Teferi, Gideon. Looks like it's going to bite the dust along with Syncopate. So, some real spells over there. This might be another Duress, and it is going to pick away the pull from tomorrow. Leaving with Maddox with not too much as we head back over to Tyler.
The Mirage Conjecture is actually a very interesting card. It puts you in this precarious predicament of, do I wait for Chapter 3 before I cast, well, anything?
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to use your mana efficiently, especially when you have stuff like Search for Azcanta going. But it's just a really interesting dynamic. Like, do I play these Duresses now, or do I wait one turn and then every Duress makes them discard 2 cards?
Secrets of the Golden City is what Herrera found there.
Yeah, he's about to give that city's blessing.
Yeah, and he might be drawing 6.
Thank you very much.
6 is a lot for 3 mana.
Can you please find Masterminds? So at this stage of the game, Joseph is the only person who can win this match. They don't have very much time left at all. One Torrent of Hailfire is enough to kill if you put enough mana into it, and if it ends up getting copied by another Mirage Conjecture in a few turns.
Mastermind's Acquisition has been found, and there are the 6 cards. So basically, what Joseph Herrera's deck does is, I have to imagine that this deck just smushes other control decks, but it's probably not great against red.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little clunky, but, you know, he has a decent amount of tools to work with. You know, you're the same colors as Blue-Black Control. You still have 4 Vraska's Contempts, probably 4 Fatal Pushes. The main deck, Yahine's Expertise, seems like they're pretty good against mono-red, at least.
Yeah, he's got 2 copies of that, too.
It's a pretty big tempo card when you're playing something like Divination.
Yeah, it's just the lack of Torrential Gearhulk, for me, that concerns me. Just that big body and how difficult turn 6 is forward.
Here come Big Brain. I'm going to get 2 cards.
Yeah, he's thinking about it.
It's a tutor, man. It's tough. You got to think about it for a second. Even tapping your lands incorrectly one time could make all the difference.
They are in extra turns now, so this will be turn 0. Here is Mastermind's Acquisition.
Pace of play always tends to slow down quite a bit once you hit extra turns as well. Players racing the clock before the turns, but once you get there, you don't want to make a mistake.
This is an attempt at Syncopate.
I think you just let Syncopate happen because you still get the copy, I believe.
Yeah, Herrera's asking which one do you want to counter? That's what the back and forth is here. Yeah, and he says Mirage Conjecture. I get a copy of this card, so I have 2 of them. So just let me know which one you want to counter. And I'm with you, Todd. I think you do just one gets countered, sure, but you get to resolve one.
Yeah, and here he can go for both Metallurgic Summoning as well as the Torment of Hailfire, but he can also just get the Scarab God. You know, he has a lot of win conditions in his sideboard that he can tutor for with Mastermind's Acquisition. It's a very versatile. Interesting card out of Joseph Herrera's Blue-Black Mirage Conjecture deck.
Yeah, I'm curious what's going to happen here. Okay, so Tyler Maddox believes that Joseph Herrera missed his trigger on putting the copy on the stack of the Mirage Conjecture, which we'll take a look at the Mirage Conjecture if we can. So until end of turn, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy.
It's still a trigger, and it's your trigger. And it is one thing in a tournament setting that can be missed.
Okay. Well, this will be a little bit interesting here as these 2 players wait for a judge call. I am curious to what Joseph Herrera would want to get. It also looks like they might... Can't tell if they're moving forward with play or not at this stage. A lot of judge calls this round, unfortunately, for you viewers at home. But Herrera's tapping mana for something, so it looks like play will continue. Now here's a negate on the Syncopate.
All right, well, he's still going to resolve 1. He's going to go get...
he's digging through his deck.
Yeah, maybe he had too many removal spells, just decided to bring all of his stuff into his sideboard. All of his win conditions probably in his deck now as opposed to in his sideboard. You know, all these Fatal Pushes got to go.
Yeah. It looks like the copy was placed on the stack, too, so... Interesting stuff here between the 2 players. I imagine Mastermind's Acquisition probably finds another copy of Mirage Conjecture and something else.
I mean, he just drew 6 cards off of Secrets of the Golden City.
Yeah.
His hand is stacked. I think here you just want something cheap you can cast this turn, like a Duress. Looks like he's grabbing a land, which could be pretty important here. He only has effectively 2 more turns, so this Torment of Hellfire has to be lethal. And I don't know that it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Well, since he's not, forking it with the Mirari Conjecture, and he only has 2 full turns to work with, since he's turn 0, and then he'll have turn 2 of extra turns and turn 4 of extra turns, that's not quite enough time for Mirari Conjecture to reach Chapter 3.
So now I'm curious, and we have a judge stepping in again here. Boy, a couple of sloppy matches here in the feature match area.
That happens, especially, when you're under the lights. Well, we just got some bad news.
That's fun.
And honestly, I didn't even think about it till just now. But I'm pretty sure Joe Herrera in trouble.
Well, now they're checking on the opacity of his sleeves.
So this is why you use checklist cards. Tyler Maddox has checklist cards. Joseph Herrera does not. I am very confident these red sleeves are slightly see-through.
This is a game loss for Joseph Herrera, it appears. Is that, I want to confirm that's the result?
That face confirms it for me.
I think you're right. Okay. Well, boy, that's an unfortunate end to what was a pretty fun match, Todd.